Welcome to DubLife Diaries, the podcast where passion meets the open road. I'm Joe Person, your host and also a lifelong dubber. Buckle up because this ride is just beginning. This podcast is sponsored by Volksmania magazine. Good times, great cars, awesome Volksmaniacs. Visit Volksmania.com to learn more about this class-leading VW magazine. All right, welcome back to DubLife Diaries. Today's guest is a straight up legend in the Volkswagen world. And I don't really actually use that word lightly. So this man's been wrenching on VW since the mid 80s. He's helped build some of the biggest shows in the Southeast. He created Volksblast, Winter Jam, No Dough Weekend, and he's earned the respect of the old school purists and all the new school builders. He lives the VW life daily, and he's passing the torch to his son. Ladies and gentlemen, we got Bill freaking Dwyer. Welcome to DubLife Diaries.
Well, thank you very much. I was wondering who you're talking about. Wow, this guy sounds great. Oh, wait.
Hey, man, that's you. And thank you, man. I really appreciate you taking time to come on this podcast and tell your story. Before we get going, I do want to give a couple shout outs to my current sponsors. Volksmania magazine, first on the list. Shout out to them. I feel these guys are the flyest VW magazine on the face of the planet. It's the quality, it's the people. If you haven't checked that out yet, please do. Volksmania.com. You can use DubLife10. That's DUBLIFE, the number 10. At checkout, you get 10% off your subscription. That is US subscribers only. Also, shout out to Salty Dub. From the beach to the bay, Salty Dub is tearing up the coastal VW scene with VW events and swag. Speaking of events, we got V-Dubs on the Pier coming up January 24th. That show, we just had registrations go live in the last couple days, and dude, it's blowing up. So we are grateful to see that it's creating a buzz. Anyway, saltydub.com. You can also use the same discount code, DubLife10, and it'll apply to 10% off any merch on the website at all. Also, for you, my brother, shout out to No Dough Weekend, which is April 10th, 11th, and 12th of 2026, right?
Yep.
Good stuff, man. All right. Well, my brother, back to you. No more of me. Back to you. Back to you.
Thanks for having me, man. I do appreciate that, man. Thank you very much.
Oh, man, of course. Of course. I appreciate you coming on, like I said. So let's rewind the clock a little bit. Let's go back to the mid 80s. What was the first Volkswagen, first VW that got you hooked?
So actually wasn't even my car. It was my buddy's car. Back in high school, everyone needed a cheap ride, and his parents bought him just like a 73 Super Beetle. Back then the car was pretty nice. They were a lot newer back then. Maybe it was like a 15 or 20-year-old car at that point,
Right.
But my friend's parents bought him that car, and was, driving around stock. And back then, you go to the store and there was Volkswagen magazines on the shelf. You can go to Publix and there's, VW Trends, Hot VWs, and stuff like that. So of course you're naturally gonna flip through them, and not to mention mini trucking and stuff like that. So custom cars were pretty big back in the 80s. All the pink stuff, purple, all that kind of stuff.
It's coming back. It's coming back.
It is.
Yeah.
And so he, had the idea, hey, let's fix this car up. I'm game. I'm totally green. Back then, I mean, I had some mechanical knowledge, with my dad fixing up cars, but more like just repair type stuff, not customizing. So maybe I acted like I knew what I was talking about, but really didn't. So we just basically pulled the trim off one day after high school and started filling holes, and we're going to paint this thing and do all these kind of, projects on it, which we did get it painted eventually, maybe like 2 years later, but it was a total crap job, but back in the day it looked good and it was cool. And we rode that car around for years, all through high school and stuff like that. So that was the initial spark, my buddy Pablo and his bug.
So after that, then, was there maybe a moment that Volkswagens kind of became a thing in your life?
Yeah. So what happened, I don't know if it was at high school itself or if it was just parked somewhere, but somebody had put a flyer, before the internet, put a flyer in his car. So he's like, hey man, these guys are like, they meet up right down. It was literally right down the road from us both. And I'm like, man, let's go up. It was a Thursday night, just in the middle of this parking lot at this mall. Well, let's go. We show up and there's like 15 cars and they're all custom Volkswagens. You know, there's a white one and a brown and a pink one. It was super cool. And the guys were super welcoming and they were like our age and they're like, yeah, man, we go cruising and we do all these like trips and we go to these events and all this stuff. And for us, it was just like an eye opener for us. We're like, oh wow, let's go. So we just became regulars. And this is probably 85, maybe 86, but I know it was early high school. So it had to be 85, 86 for me.
So you're about 10 years ahead of me. My high
Yeah.
school, I graduated in 95. Um,
Yep.
and when I graduated 16, I bought a 72 Standard Beetle auto clutch,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
Tyrone Square Mall parking lot. And it was my favorite, purchase I had ever made. It was like two
Yeah.
grand, maybe 2 grand, maybe a little
Yeah.
bit more.
Yeah.
Had 70,000 miles on it, single one owner,
Right.
old lady,
Yeah.
those types of finds aren't out there anymore for 2 grand, but all good. We're talking about the scene though back then, mid '80s. Describe it if you can. Was it smaller? Was it bigger? Was it wilder? Was it not as wild? Like because it's obviously taken off these
Sure.
days.
Sure. Well, the 80s, the internet wasn't a thing, obviously. There was no such thing as the internet. So to go to events and stuff like that, you actually had to get a flyer. Maybe you saw flyers at like a parts store or something like that. So to me, it was almost like there was less shows at that point in time. Maybe there was like 4 or 5 total a year, but they were like a huge deal for us because we don't when are we going to go to the next show? It's going to be like 3, 4, or 5 months out or something like that. And Bug Jam was around back then, and we did go. But the actual scene in the city, there was a in the 80s there was a big cruising scene and there was a big hangout, where people just we didn't really have money, so we would just go to the where we knew everyone was cruising around and maybe do a few laps, you know what I mean, and then park and then play some music and Miami's a lot like, the West Coast where you have like causeways and then people would meet up on the causeways. And you might go with a few guys with Beatles. I remember going on cruises where it was like 7 or 10 of us back in the early 80s. And then we'll show up somewhere and then, meet some other people. People come hang out. So it was just kind of a serendipitous type of existence. Like we left on a Friday night not knowing what was going to happen.
You
All we
never
had
know
was
what's
some
gonna happen with these
cards,
cars.
maybe some beers, and we were underage or something like that. Let's sneak out and let's go, man. So a lot of great memories, a lot of good times, and it was really cool. I mean, I think about it now. I'm like, wow, did that really happen? And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
So, in that, like
Yeah,
the scenes evolved so much, and now we've got the YouTube, and you've got
sure.
a lot of the influencer style guys that are making the instructional videos on these old cars,
Yeah.
and what mentors or influencers were around back then that really helped you shape your early builds.
Well, in Miami, there is a notorious guy, Phil Weiner. We call him Papa down there, and he was the guru of Volkswagens. And this guy that we heard about him. Oh, this guy has like 10 Volkswagens on the side of his house, and he's like a Volkswagen mechanic. So we used to pop over to Phil's house, and he was like, "Oh," and he was probably around my age back then. Now he's in his 80s, or
Hey,
actually almost in his 90s, and he still does Volkswagens, by the way. Um, so he
badass.
said, "Hey, yeah, you guys want to show up on a Sunday, help me move these cars around and fire them up?" And we did like plugs and little tune-up minor stuff. No, knowing now what I know, is he only knew kind of the basics on how to tune them up and stuff like that. He never rebuilt engines or painted stuff like that, but it
Right.
was a good way to get your hands on a lot of cars. Um, you know, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. My parents drove, I guess modern vehicles for the time. So he was kind of a cool dude in letting us do free labor for him and touch all his cars and stuff like that. So, Phil, and there was a few guys already that were more advanced than I was at the time. Jerry and Caesar, they were already painting cars in their parents' garages. So I kind of emulated and learned some tips and tricks from them. and then just kind of jumped into it, man. Just you know started just doing things, not really knowing quite how to do it. Hey, I kind of saw this guy do this. I mean, mix these chemicals and paint. I sand this car down, and it most of it came out pretty good. But I mean, the knowledge base was not there at that time.
So you've been building now, building these cars for
Yeah.
decades. How's your build style evolved over time?
It has evolved a lot. So, of course, in the 80s, we did things with stripes on them and pink and, white. And we did scalloped cars and flamed cars and tweed interiors and all the stuff that you see now. And you're like, wow, that's cool 80s stuff. And for me, even me, I mean, I was around then. So when I see those cars, it brings me back. Actually, the parts bring me back. I'm like, oh, I remember that dash when they made that billet aluminum dash. I remember when it came out. I remember the cheap coil covers and the little plastic bits that you put on your fan pulley and that kind of stuff. So those cars do take me back. So we did a lot of those probably from the mid 80s to the maybe the early 90s. And then from the 90s we went to like a resto custom style,
Okay.
kind of hitting California pretty hard. That's basically like a two-tone bug. Might be green and white or red and white, two-tone with like five spokes, but I'll keep all the chrome where in the 80s you were ripping all the chrome off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Good call.
yeah, into the 2000s where, like my bus, my 67, I built it probably early 2000s. That's kind of when I started building it. And it's kind of a muted out, like almost a solid color bus. So it's a monotone with blacked out, murdered out wheels and stuff like that. And then now my style, I think, is evolving again. I just built like an old speed style car. I just wanted to do something different. I built a decent amount of cars. I built a few cars that were in magazines and stuff like that. So, I've had my hands on a lot of them. And each one is a little bit different. And I kind of go with the what I think is going to be the next big thing or something that I'm interested in that I haven't done. Try to mix it up.
Do you sell these cars? Do you build them and sell them? Do you build them and
Uh,
deploy them?
I've built some. I've sold a few. I have right now. I'm down to three, and I'm going to stick with three, because that's a normal thing to do. Actually, just three Volkswagen. But over the years, I've sold cars. As I had kids, I had to sell some cars. Built some to sell some. Built some for other people, or collabed with people and built cars that were just major major projects that we just need like 4 or 5 guys to finish this thing in the next 2 years type stuff. So I've done a lot of stuff like that too. I get dragged into a lot of things. I didn't know how to say no for a long time.
I value that. I do. And,
Yeah.
I think that might come from your personality too. Being in sales. Uh,
Yeah.
no is not in the vocabulary, brother.
No.
Yeah,
No.
the answer
It's
is going to
not.
be yes, or we're going to try to find a way for it to be yes. So,
Yeah, and I love working on cars. I love working on Volkswagens. I realize that, it's kind of my therapy, getting out in the garage, playing my tunes, getting involved in a project and that kind of stuff. So I'm easily wrangled into other people's projects, especially if they're cool. I love to get my hands on some cool cars and stuff. Honestly, things I wouldn't have been able to work on myself because I can't afford some of the projects that I've worked on.
I saw a meme, just going back to what you were saying. I saw a meme on social media just last week. It was something
Yeah.
about classic VWs. Does anybody own just one? Like
Yeah.
everybody was commenting about how many they own and stuff. It's
Yeah,
it's
you
kind of
start
funny.
with one.
You do. What do you think over time, looking back at the builds, what's been one of the hardest projects that you had to take on, and I guess maybe just walk me through, why it was hard.
The hardest project I've ever been involved with isn't even my Volkswagen. Most of the stuff I build, I mean, I've built ovals and I've worked on some litters and a few splits and stuff like that. Most of my cars are in the 50s to 60s. But my buddy Bubba years ago told me that he had bought this bus and he says, I got to show you pictures of the thing. It's going to freak you out, dude. You're going to freak out when you see this project. And we had already been we lived at that point, we lived like maybe 15 minutes from each other. So I would go over there on weekends and we'd knock out all kind of projects and stuff like that. Mostly all split bus related stuff. He shows up, he's got his cell phone and he's got pictures of this bus. It's obviously a barn door bus. And I'm like, wow, dude, but we had worked on a few. I'm like, man, that's like an early barn door, man. That's a really early bus, you know? And he's like, dude, I've checked out serial numbers. I think it might be the oldest combi bus in the world, you know, and that combi bus is like, yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, oh my gosh, you know, this is amazing. So he showed me pictures, and a combi bus has windows. So in 1950, you know, they started building lots of 50 buses, but they're mostly all panel buses. So almost every 50 bus is a panel. And then at some point they decided to put windows. So this bus at the time, turns out there is an older one or possibly two older ones, was the oldest combi known by serial number. So he said, look, it's in Uruguay. I'm importing it to the US. I hope it shows up. It was a fairly decent price, but then the importing was like the price of the bus. So it was a double digit $1,000 car, you know. He's like, it could be a piece of crap. I don't know anything about it, but I'm gonna gamble. I'm gonna roll the dice. But okay, cool, man. Get it. Let me know. Pick it up at the port. It's what it said it was. It's, you know, an early 50 combi, and it's super cool. Like stuff I had worked on and restored maybe 20 buses prior, and I'm looking at stuff like I have never seen this on a bus. I've never seen this piece. I've never seen a lot of things that this bus has.
Wow.
And yeah, we're kind of in like a zone that we had never been. Like all the vent windows were like it was a complete metal frame. They actually popped out in the opposite direction. Almost prototype. I wouldn't say it's a prototype, but it was a very, very early combi. So he's like, I'm gonna restore this thing. So he drove it around for maybe a year or two as it was, and then we got deep into the restoration, you know, like soda blast the body and start actually having to have sheet metal panels built because an existing like a B pillar bus, a regular B pillar bus pillar was totally different than what this thing had. So it was an
Wow.
early barn door pillars with semaphores, and we actually had to have Classic Fab build the panels because they just didn't exist, you know. And this one's twisted like a pretzel, and there's no way we're gonna fix it. Um, just a really fun ride. Um, he collected all the parts. I just basically helped him out with labor and you know that kind of stuff. But it was a really fun project. Probably about 2.5 years total of us building the bus from basically stripping it down nothing to getting it done. But a very interesting project. You know, a lot of things about it were totally different. So it was an adventure, I would say. And the car is now and it's actually in a museum
Wow.
up in Wisconsin. Yeah, private owner that actually lives in Florida. Um, he bought it and he still has it, and it's one of his most cherished buses. It's a super cool bus, man, and it was so fun. It's actually on YouTube. If you look up Bubba's Barn Door 50 bus, it'll pop up on YouTube and you can see the build. It's pretty
I'll,
cool.
I'll check it out for sure.
Yeah,
And hopefully everybody else does too. In the timeline now, we'll fast forward just a little bit to the mid 90s, 95. I know
yeah,
you helped found the Wide Five Vintage VW Club.
correct.
Walk me through, I guess what made you want to build that or be one of
Yeah.
the founding members of that? What was the purpose? What was kind of missing from the scene at that time that made you want to come up with that?
Sure, sure. So the mid 90s was kind of I would almost say a little bit of a lull, you know, in VWs because you know the 80s hit hard and there was a lot of clubs in Miami, maybe three or four that I can think of. And then in the 90s, you know, mid 90s, people started kind of, you know, having families and, you know, some people kind of disappeared out of the scene, but there was a kind of a core group of guys that I consider diehards and we're still in the Volkswagens today. We naturally were hanging out and we would go to some clubs and they were always just a little bit weird, you know, hey guys, you know, we're having a meeting, everybody quiet, you know, they would do all these weird collect dues and stuff. And we're like, what are you talking about, dude? So we just started our own thing. Yeah, we just started our own thing, low key, drama free. But the whole basis behind the whole Wide Five thing is we all just loved early Volkswagen. So we tried to keep it pre 67. That it didn't happen in reality, but so we just loved early cars, and our dream was to build a DKP style club out in California where it was just like either cowlick cars or performance early cars. And we surely built a lot, and at that time we were building a lot of cars, maybe one or two a year out of the club. Different guys would finish projects and stuff like that. So it was a very fun time going to all the shows, doing what we could to build as many Volkswagens as we can and just have fun, but drama free. I started having kids and
My
got
favorite
married, and
thing.
they so did they. Yeah, so it was a family thing, and it was just great, and we're still great friends today. We still hit shows to this day. We're just in our 50s now. That's all. We're still kids though.
Right. I feel that. I feel that. And
Yeah.
to talk on the 90s vibe, because I was
Mhm.
alive in that time and also driving
Yeah,
a Beetle. I think
sure.
I think in the 90s we had just started to explore these aren't really that cool of cars yet. They're just old cars.
Yeah, yeah,
They were just old cars. So they kind of
yeah,
started to, unless you were really, bit by the bug, so to speak, and you were an
yeah,
enthusiast already that was already
yeah,
turning wrenches, etc. They started trying to kind of almost phase out, right, by technology and other things. They weren't like
yeah,
necessarily cool yet. Then,
yeah,
that generation kind of went through it, and then they
yeah.
became, beyond that, beyond cool. Now they were super
Sure.
cool and classics, and
Yeah.
yeah. So I vibe with that.
Real quick, back in the
Yeah.
90s, I mean, I built Volkswagens and then daily drove them. You know what I mean? It was kind of that phase where, I mean, I had a regular car, but it was one of my actual daily vehicles. So I'd fix it, on the weekend and then drive it all week and use the damn thing. I mean, I was daily driving a 57 convertible to work and back
Oh,
for years,
I
years,
did
man,
too.
like three,
I,
4 years.
yeah, I did too. Back then Fisher Buggies put that 1600 in that Beetle for me, and it
Yeah,
had the auto clutch. When that
yeah,
After 2 years, that auto clutch started to fail, started to pop out of
yeah,
gear and whatnot. And they
yeah,
in '96 they didn't make parts for it.
yeah,
So DNA, Daryl from DNA in Pinnell's Park,
yeah,
he talked me into just putting a 4-speed in it. So I did. I
yeah,
changed the pedal assembly out. I didn't. He did. But
sure.
yeah, man. Good times in the 90s for sure.
Yeah, they were just old cars, and you could fix them up on the cheap and have a great time, but they weren't as big a deal as they are now. You see one on the road now, and everyone's looking. Back then, you look there, you're like, "That's nice. It's just a bug." Just the average Joe might think it's cool.
Yeah. Yes,
I
exactly.
like air conditioning.
I feel
But
that. I feel that. And I went through that even myself as a late teen, again, like you said, I started a family and I got married and, all that stuff. And it's like, I still always have had a spot for these little cars in my heart, but I didn't have one, man. I took a hiatus for many years
yeah,
because, well,
yeah,
I didn't have room in the garage, etc. But obviously happy to be a part of the scene again. What made
yeah.
the Wide Five Club different from other clubs back then?
Still just early cars. Basically, we tried to build a lot of resto custom Beetles, a few cowlick cars, a lot of more motor related stuff. A few of us were building motors and building motors for other guys. So we tried to just have nice early Beetles, big motors, drive to shows. We believed in driving our stuff.
Yeah,
So we
yeah, yeah,
drove from Miami to Bug Jam, 6, 7 hour rides, and wherever we could, man, we drove them and enjoyed them.
yeah. I feel that because I used to strap surfboards to my roof, and I would hit
Yeah,
East Coast, and we'd go surf the East Coast right here from
yeah,
St. Pete.
yeah.
We'd drive down south. We'd hit Venice. Me and my buddies. And dude, this car got extremely good gas mileage.
Mhm. Yeah,
And it made it. My friend used to be,
yeah.
no way, man, we're not taking that thing to the East Coast. Are you crazy? I'm like, what do you mean?
Hell yeah, we are.
Yeah, get in. And then they
Yeah,
started to trust them too. They're like, oh hell yeah, the Beatles gonna get us there. And yeah,
yeah,
it sure did.
yeah,
All right, so a little bit later than mid '90s, still Miami. You put together Volks Blast,
yeah.
which was
Correct, correct.
another event. Take us back. How did that show come to? How did it begin?
Yeah, so in the 90s in Florida, there wasn't as many shows as we have now. Now I feel like, man, there's something to do almost every weekend, Volkswagen related, whether it's a hangout, it's a cars and coffee, it's an actual show.
Right.
There's so many things going on. I mean, we're really spoiled today. You can be like, well, I just can't make that. It's just, I got to stay at home and cut the grass literally because I've been doing Volkswagen crap for the last, month or so. There wasn't a lot of shows, and Miami's almost like I almost kind of equate it to like living on an island. There's not a lot of people go to Miami. Not a lot of things car related would go down to Miami. So we didn't have a real Volkswagen show down there. I mean, all through the 80s, the closest show was Fort Lauderdale, and it was an okay show. You had Bug Jam, and you had maybe just one or two other decent shows. So maybe all year you're building these cars and you're doing all this work for maybe four shows. So it was really a lot of effort. And we're like, well, why doesn't Miami have its own show? Why don't we have a show here? Even if it's just for locals, let's do it. So we teamed up, White Five teamed up with Palmetto Bugs, which is another like a local Volkswagen club, but more of an all, water cooled everything in that club, where we were strictly just vintage cars. And basically, we teamed up with them, created our own show, and just kind of started going from there. So that would have been 1996 was, I believe, the first show that we did. And right off the bat, we had like 100 cars, which is pretty darn good for there. And then, year two, we had 150 cars, and then it just started growing to the point that it really maxes out at like 250. The show actually physically can only hold about 250 cars, but we were shutting down the South Miami, basically Sunset Drive. It's a busy road. It grew to the size that the city was allowing us to shut the streets down and close down the city. Basically, we
Man,
started taking side streets. And Volkswagen did really well from 1996 to really COVID. COVID is the kind of the last nail in the coffin for it. Although it did
yeah.
start back up last year
Okay.
with a couple of the original guys that lived down there still. But it's at a different spot. But it's still probably on the rebuild.
Cool though that it's coming back. And I
Yeah,
feel the COVID thing. I was teaching classes in person, traveling the
yeah,
country, and we all know what happened, during the
yeah,
lockdown and stuff. If you're any type of in-person classroom training, you had to check, the temperature.
yeah,
You had to do all kinds of stuff. It's like,
yeah,
then people are like, I'm not traveling. I'm not wearing a mask. I'm not doing
yeah,
this and that. And it was tough, man, because then it even takes me back to this. Do you
yeah.
get vaccinated or not? Like regardless of what your stance is politically, I wasn't allowed to go make money for my family unless I said yes to the vaccine because I couldn't get on a
I
plane.
I sell to hospitals, so yeah, so
Yeah.
I get that totally, man.
Yeah, man. I couldn't get on a plane unless I proved it. So it's like, damn, you really
Yeah,
that was a really weird time for our world.
it was,
It
yeah.
was a
And
fucking weird
what
time.
happened was during it, we basically lost our contacts. Um, people had moved on, so it's 2, 3, 4 years later, maybe more. And we're like, hey, you remember that Volkswagen show we used to do 4 or 5 years ago? And they're like, yeah, talk to so and so, and it just didn't have the reception with the city
Sure.
at that time after and they're rebuilding themselves. They're like, we're worried about the city economically not putting on a Volkswagen show at that point.
Yeah, yeah.
So it
Uh,
may come back, but it's a phenomenal show. One thing I am proud about with that event, and you got to remember we're young kids. We're like 27, 28 years old. Is one of the guys involved, Bill Steckley, was adamant that if we're going to do the show, it's got to be for charity. And being a 29-year-old and being exposed to going Habitat for Humanity was one of the beneficiaries of the show, and I'm writing a big check and giving it to them. We ended up donating a few houses, maybe a few years in, two houses that we built that actually have the club plaque on them, which I
damn.
don't know if they're still there today, but they're probably
Super
like, what the
cool,
hell is that
man.
wide five? Yeah, you know what I mean? But
That's badass, man.
it was cool, man. It was a really kind of a cool way to learn, like, wow, our hobby can turn into something positive for people. So I'm proud about that.
So people are really the same over time, right? But
Yeah,
what changed in the like maybe essentially the growing pains of growing a show in today's
yeah.
society as opposed to growing a show in the 80s and 90s? What did it look
It
like, I guess, back then compared to now?
it is a lot easier to grow a show today because you have social media and you have, YouTube, which, people a lot of times will research your event. Oh, let me check it out on YouTube, see if there's any videos of the event. I mean, it could make or break the show. Maybe they see a video and they're like, nah, but most of the time, a video or something like that will spark interest. But advertising, man, Facebook is a huge tool. I mean, social media has its good and bad, I believe. But one good thing about it is that it's a great way to communicate. It's a great way to get your info out and get your message out and for people that are into, the Volkswagen hobby or just, like-minded people to find each other. So
Yeah.
that the tremendous growth with Nodo has all been through Facebook. I stopped flyering like 10 years ago. And it was a big thing. It's like, oh, you're not going to put out flyers. I'm like, no, man, I'm just going to go to Facebook. And that's when the show started growing, when I stopped doing flyers. But back in the 80s or 90s, like it was literally a copy of a copy of a copy flyer that you found for some show that's in Fort Lauderdale that people are putting on. And you might get 100 cars out there or something like that. And then you're like, hey, did you go to the show? And they're like, I never heard about the show. And you're like, yeah, well,
Yeah,
show on a piece of paper, you know.
yeah.
Uh, so, social media makes it a lot easier. But I would say big shows at that time, like Bug Jam, was really the only big game in town back then.
Hmm.
It was like going to Disneyland for us because, we waited all year, we built cars all year. We're just like, yeah, I'm gonna take my car to Bug Jam, and people are gonna freak out when they see this thing.
Ah, so
So
cool.
the feeling of the finished project, because you couldn't put pictures on the internet. It was just like, wow, that guy's car is badass. Where now it's like, oh, yeah, I saw it on the internet, man. Yeah, it's been a nice build, and that initial impression
Yeah.
is it's gone because you've already seen the build. You already saw when they stripped out this bolt, and you already know the story of the car before you've seen it. So
Wow.
it's
What
kind
a
of like opening your presents for Christmas, like back then, and then now you know what the Christmas present is, and your mom wrapped it anyways. That's a little bit of the feeling there is different.
That's a really, really good analogy and good way to kind of describe that because
Yeah,
I can almost envision that. So
yeah,
we'll talk about Nodo in just a second, but
sure,
before that, let's touch on early 2000s, 2007-ish. You started
yeah,
Winter Jam in Daytona. This was a massive event.
yeah, yeah.
What inspired Winter Jam?
Winter Jam was so I moved out of Miami, I should say, in 2003. I just wanted something different. I had at that point had a child, and I'm like, I don't want to raise him up in the city. And Miami's a very crowded place, and I'm like, I need to change. So I moved with work and stuff like that up to DeLand, Florida, which is like north of Orlando.
I got stories about Deland. We'll get into it
Oh,
later.
really?
Yeah, I told you
Okay.
I used to surf the East Coast. I had one buddy that lived in New Smyrna area, and
Yeah.
we came down into his area, and ended up visiting DeLand, and I saw
Yeah.
all these this area we went to where there was like these mediums and this, it was really
Oh,
kind
Casadega. Yeah, it's right down the street. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
bro.
yeah.
So my car broke down there.
Yeah.
I had a 1984 at the time. It was an 84 Volvo 240
Oh, wow.
DL.
Yeah.
Total shitbox. Electric
Yeah.
system was a nightmare. It started blowing
Yeah.
fuses and I started smelling smoke. And I'm like, uh-oh. And it broke down in Casadega.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, bro. So
Yeah,
we
that's a
ended
weird
up,
place to break down.
yeah. It was like, yeah. So anyway, this ain't about me, but that was my story. It was crazy. We ended up having to stay for a couple of days, not there, but at my
Wow.
buddy's house. And
Yeah.
yeah, I had to get my car fixed by some Euro shop, and
Yeah.
it needed if I remember correctly, I was a young man, but maybe 17 or 18. My dad had to bail me out and help me out,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
help me pay for it and get it out
yeah, yeah.
there. I had to get
For
towed. And
people for people who might listen that don't know what Casadega is, it's a spiritualist camp. And it's actually a very cool place, especially these days. It's really cool.
I
But
bet.
it's a lot of mediums, palm readers.
Yes.
I actually knew someone who read a crystal ball that lived there. It's a very interesting place.
Super cool though. Super cool.
Freak out if I didn't know about it. I broke down there. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I didn't, and we had to find out about it. I'm trying to remember what the one guy had on his sign that said something. It was hanging off this tree, and it said something. It may have, I don't really remember. It was something
Like
super
Joe,
spiritual.
I knew you were going to break down today. You know, they had read that they knew the
But
future.
there was a lady that had a gift store in the front of a single family house, and when you
House.
walked in,
Yeah.
it was like, honestly, bro, she was a witch. Like,
Yeah. No, no, I believe it. Yeah, sure.
I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it.
I know one that lives there. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're standing in there, and I'm like, can we? There's no cell phones. Can I use the phone? I got to call a tow
Yeah.
truck or whatever. And she was like very non-trusting at all,
Yeah.
but at the same time, very trusting as well. Because it's
Yeah.
almost like you
Yeah.
said, she almost had this feeling like, well, they're not going to do anything, or they're going to be messing with the wrong person.
I'm reading his aura.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just felt that, but that was my story
Yeah.
about that area. But back to Winter Jam.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
I moved here in '03, and I didn't do a show for, 4 years basically. And in '06, a guy that lived here locally wanted to promote an event. So he never did that. He never put on an event. And at this point, I had a decent amount of experience from doing Volksblast, and I was still going to Miami and running that show the day of. I was kind of out of the preliminary stuff at that point, but I still ran the day of the nuts and bolts of the show, and this is how it lays out. And me and my buddies from Y5 kind of did a lot of the parking people and registration and all that kind of stuff. So I knew how to run a show at this point pretty good. And he's like, "Hey, I know you have experience. I've got this idea for a show." And then, invited him to my house, and we basically laid out this kind of a festival style show, because at that point I thought, if I'm going to get involved with the show, and remember, I had gone through the 90s, gone to a bunch of shows in California, I want to do something that's different than what the East Coast has seen. And at that point in time, there was no multi-day shows in Florida. It didn't exist. Bug Jam was one day. Um, you had Bully Brigade, that was a separate event down in St. Pete,
Yep.
or Clearwater, but it was its own show. And then so it was a 2 day event. But like when you went to California in the '90s, they've got open houses, and they've got things Saturday night and parties and all these kind of things. So that's where the idea came from. I had already experienced that out at the Classic in California. So I'm like, man, if we're going to do a show, man, I would love to do a classic style show. Oh, like the VW Classic in California, where it's basically a festival type of deal, where it's like, Saturday night there's a pre open house somewhere, and then Sunday's the big show. Still, Nodo is also modeled the same way. The main difference between Winter Jam and Nodo was Winter Jam, well, it wasn't a free show. That's the biggest difference. And then it also had a music aspect, and then it ended up having a skating and surfing aspect, because one of the guys, Chris, who was involved with promoting the show, was a big time surfer and a lifeguard, and his kids are skaters. And I was like, dude, it'd be super cool if we do almost like a Warped Tour slash Volkswagen show thing. And we did, man. And we grew it from 2007 to 2010 was when I was involved. So about 3 years, and it exploded, man. It was a massive, massive event. Not as big as No-Do, but it
How
was
big did it get?
definitely, I want to say probably 400 cars,
Oh
at the
man,
show.
that's
So it's a
gangster.
pretty good, yeah, it's a pretty good sized show. We actually moved to an indoor, the Ocean Center was an indoor venue. We had
Wow.
the Daytona Beach band shell. So we had a bus show there with a band and music playing and a surf contest. It
Go.
There was a lot going on at the show. and the show actually did turn a profit. And once it started, we had talked about you're not going to get rich, doing
Yeah.
Volkswagen shows.
Yeah, you sure
The
aren't.
guy,
Boy, they all
the
think you
guy was,
will, though.
yeah, you think you will, but I knew better. The guy that I was doing it with was like, man, we broke even. We made 10 grand or whatever. I want to increase everything by like $10, and this way we'll make, 40, 50,000. I'm like, dude, you're gonna price us out. People are gonna hate us. They're not gonna pay back in 2007, $35 for a t-shirt. They're not gonna pay, $5 to for spectator parking. They're not gonna pay 15 to get in the gate. They're not gonna pay $45 to get in a show. I felt like we were trying to nickel and dime people, and I'm old school Volkswagen guy, man. It should be fun. It should be
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
low cost and stuff like that. So we bumped heads in 2010 to the point that I was like, look, I actually decided at the show, I'm out. I'm not doing this next year. I'm done. He said we just didn't agree on anything. Um, so what happened was we bumped heads, and then the next year I did my own show. I did No Do Weekend. He did Winter Jam, and Noto was free, and it was actually in one of the old venues from the show, which is the venue we still use today, the Port Orton City Center. And like more than half of everyone went to Noto, and they were just like, "Hey, man, it's free. I'm not going to pay $50 to get in to a venue, And that's what happened basically is we had a kind of a separation, and then people went to the fun free side. So so
Um,
that's how, and then he did Winter Jam the following year, and then after that he just stopped. So, but that's how No Do kind of came about.
well, now we're here, and we can talk about
Yep,
no.
yep, yeah,
I haven't had the privilege of hanging out at a no-do yet. I know Alan has. Last couple of years he's been. Uh,
yeah,
Obviously my partner in Salty Dub.
sure,
I want to come and I will, but for those that haven't been,
yeah,
let's talk about what makes no-do different from every other weekend event.
yeah. So real quick, a Winter Jam, I didn't have full control. I had a lot of knowledge, and I basically laid out the shows, but I figured if I want to do No Do, and it's going to happen now, it's going to be an enthusiast show, a show that's for the people. It's not going to charge a lot of money. I mean, obviously we have to put the show on, so some, sponsors and stuff, we need that kind of stuff. But it's basically I wanted to make it a real deal Volkswagen show with honestly like an 80s type of vibe, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what we've done. Try to tell people that don't know about it. It's kind of like Bike Week for Volkswagens, except it's only 3 days instead of a week. So it's 3 days of a lot of stuff going on. If you ever look at the schedule for
I
for
hear, I've seen.
Noto,
It's fucking off the
yeah,
chain. There's all kinds of stuff.
yeah.
How
So
many cars come in for the weekend?
we're looking at probably about 700 now. So it's getting big, and the city is nervous about the show at this point. They're like, look, you're gonna outgrow the venue at some point, which I don't think we are. But they last year we had to open up a whole nother area, and we packed that. So we've been opening up additional areas of the show. It's not like a book jam. I would say it's got a totally different vibe. The closest thing, there's a few shows in California that it's like, I can't think of the damn show right now, but it's in a shaded park. It's got like a circular drive around the lake, and people are sporadically, laid out in all sections of the park. It's got a DJ, getting the vibe right. Um, it's not a judged show, so we don't line people up, line cars up by models and stuff like that, and then send judges around. We do like a people's choice. I actually put together a team of people, and they judge the top eight. There's only 8 awards that we give away at the show, but they're always really interesting awards. They always have to do with the theming of the show. Every year's got a different theme. But I tell people it's a weekend for you to enjoy your car, drive it. Um, the show, like the furthest point you'll be from the show or any of the events are is maybe like 2, 3 miles. So if you got a car that maybe doesn't run the greatest, you'll still be okay. And in that area is nothing but Volkswagens driving around. So you're driving, you're passing Volkswagens. It's almost like being like in the 60s or the 70s where there's a lot of Volkswagens on the road because you got 700 Volkswagens within a 3 or 4 square mile radius. And they
Damn.
might be going to a pizza event, at Giuseppe's Pizza. They might be going to a bus thing. It's pretty cool. I mean, I go there and I'm always constantly working and trying to make sure everything's happening.
Yeah.
But I look around, I'm like, wow, this is pretty damn cool, man. I would love to come to the show someday, you know what I mean, and not have to think about anything.
Yeah, dude.
But
I feel that.
I try to tell people it's like bike week. You'll have parties at night, events during the day. If you're a bay window guy, we got a bay window show. If you're a split window guy, you got a split window show. We got a Vanagon show happening this year, so lots of great stuff going on. And then we have the big show on Sunday, and we have a huge swap meet. And the thing is, I mean, it's low cost. It's free to put your car in. It's free to be a spectator. So you got gas, food, and whatever else you need. You can camp, you can stay at a hotel, you can stay at an Airbnb. But we try to make it a low cost weekend and where people are just they're gonna go Volkswagen crazy,
I think
and
that,
it's just gonna be fun.
I
No
think that's
stress.
I think that's why people connect with it so well,
Yeah, yeah,
because it really is more of the enthusiast based versus money based. And
right.
we try, Alan and I try to do the same thing. We took over the
Sure.
Skyway ride in
Yeah,
2024. That was the 25th year. And that was after
yep,
2 years of it not being able to be assembled and put back together. And that first
yeah,
year that we put it back together, the 25th anniversary, we had 440 cars.
yeah.
And when we were standing in lot 5 that day at Tropicana Field, when they all parked and
A
they were
lot.
over the bridge, we
Yeah.
absolutely stuffed the entire lot full. And we're looking at each
Awesome.
other and we're going, we did this.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that feeling, for
It's
sure.
cool, man. That I've been to that back when Sven was doing it years ago.
Yeah.
Man, I've been to that event like 10 times and I saw you guys were doing it. It just the dates didn't line up and I'm like, damn it. But that's a great ride over the bridge.
Yeah.
It's
We,
a good time. It brings back memories too of some funny stuff that's happened, but
we got the
yeah, it's a good
nighttime.
show.
We do it at night now too. I don't know if
I
you
know I saw that.
Yeah, so now we got
Yeah,
the PM ride, and we did that really kind of as a response from the community saying, "Well, we don't want to wait till next year for another Skyway event." It's like, well,
right. Yeah,
okay, like what can we do then?
yeah,
Let's do it at night. The bridge lights up,
yeah.
and then that turned into Christmas lights and more of a kind of. And then we've been inspired this last year by seeing all the reels and the shorts on
Yeah.
social media of the Huntington Beach Pier. Um,
Yeah.
Sick, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
we got inspired, Alan and I, to do that. And Alan's like, dude, we got to find a way to get on a pier somewhere. So I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
let's rack our brains and figure it out. We end up connecting with the state who has a contract with the guy that owns the Skyway fishing pier. And
Oh, wow.
I end up getting his cell phone number and calling him. And I
That's cool.
yeah, dude, I talked to him and
I didn't realize that's privately owned.
it is. I
Like,
didn't either. I had no clue.
wow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
privately owned, but you have to
Interesting.
bring everything to the state's attention that you do there as, he's the owner. So he asked them,
Right.
hey, on December 14th, can we have it for XYZ? They said, yeah, we're not going to shut it down to the public,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yeah, go
Well,
for
you
it.
don't want it shut down. You want them to be able to enjoy it too, because
That's right.
knows who you're going to influence. There might be a little kid there. There might
Uh,
be a dad and a teenage son that's going to be like, we need a damn Volkswagen, man, you know?
Yes.
So,
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
Totally. Totally love that.
So one thing about Nodo, and
Yes.
the big thing about Nodo is we try to make it fun. Like that picture I sent you, with the thing going underneath the limbo pole.
Yeah. I
We
watched that.
started that, years ago, and it's just taken off. And now we're at the point where people are building cars to do the auto limbo. The price is only
Great.
$100, man. The price is $100. People are spending thousands of dollars to build a car for basically bragging rights and the fun of doing it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Which I
That
saw the
very
video.
car in that picture was built because he went to Noto the year before and watched other people do it and went home and was like, I'm building a freaking limbo car. It's fun as hell. And he ended up building a 6-door thing.
I was gonna say, and it's
So,
stretched. It's a stretch thing, which is
yep,
so cool.
yep,
Yeah,
yep. So
for
it's about the fun of it. It's about enjoying the cars. It's about spending time with your family. It's about all that.
Speaking of family, let's touch on
Yeah.
this 'cause I know this is
Yeah.
important to you. VWs have been a full-time family hobby for you. Now, I know you're
Yeah.
pulling your son into it, right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's getting poked. Well, he's been initiated over the years anyways. He's
Sure.
been, and my daughter too, in all fairness, she has been also involved. But he's a real Volkswagen kid. He's got
I'll show
a
you something.
Vanagon on it. Yeah.
I'm gonna show you something cool. Just talking about having the kids involved. I got a
You,
six
you
year
just
old.
you
That's
just pulled that out of the door of the thing on video. It looked cool as hell. You went and it came right out of the bottom of the door. Oh, that's awesome, man.
I got a 6 year
That's
old bro that just draws me
yeah.
art all the time and
Yeah, that's
comes
super
and
cool.
hands it to me. And he doesn't realize it, but he's getting
Yeah.
bit by the bug,
Yeah,
baby.
he's got it. He's got it.
He tells me
Yeah,
the difference
my
between
I
bay windows and split windows, and oh, that's a
yeah,
Vanagon. He sees them in public. He calls them out. I'm like, bro,
yeah.
you're six. This is great.
The one thing I did when I was young, my son was born, is I never wanted to alternate my lifestyle. I wanted to incorporate, my kids. There's some people that, hey, I had a kid, you'll never see me again. And we still do what we
Right.
do. We still do what we do. And so they were both raised up with Volkswagens and stuff like that, and road trips. And I have a bus, and it's a camper. We've been on thousands of camping trips with it.
I bet.
And we have tons of memories, both good and bad, of being in the bus, having on a road trip somewhere, hitting springs, all the springs around Florida, all the way up to the Carolinas for some shows, up to like towards New Jersey and Virginia and that kind of
Wow.
stuff, and on the east coast of
Super
Florida,
cool.
camping out and driving it. Um, they never asked, "Hey, are we there yet?" None of that stuff. They were either sleeping or they're looking out the windows and just having a good time.
Yeah.
And we've got an extended family at shows because of that, because people have known them since they were babies. So they're like, "Hey, Nick, hey, Emma, how's it going?" And they've known them since they were little babies. And I have friends. I just went to a show in St. Augustine where my buddy's little grandson is now he's taller than me, and I'm like, wow,
Was that the Turkey
it's
Trot
crazy.
show or whatever?
Yeah, yeah, yep,
Yeah.
up at St. Augustine.
I
Yeah,
saw
Turkey
that.
Run.
My wife's family, her mom and dad have a house in St. Augustine.
Oh,
They
cool.
they have travel contracts where they live in Alaska. They're both nurses
Oh,
and
wow.
they
Yeah.
live out there full time, but they have a house there. They Airbnb. We actually last year for the evacuation,
Yeah.
when the storms came, we actually went and
Yeah.
stayed up there. So I, just connected with a few of the local, VW
Yeah.
scenes out there. So I've seen
Sure.
some of the social media stuff
A
advertising.
great bunch of guys there, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
bet. Do we want to touch on anything else on your son? I know you're pulling him into the scene, but is
Yeah.
he
So he had my son's basically taken over a lot more of the preliminary stuff. He's 25 now,
on the show
and
side?
yeah, on the show side, and at some point, I kind of want to take my load to about half, and then maybe at some point hand it off. Um,
Sure, man.
my daughter, ironically, is starting to take interest in it too, and she's
Cool.
into other hobbies, but she's like, I've been thinking about it. Maybe I want to put on a some kind of a convention. And I was like, whoa, holy crap. She's into like all kind of anime and stuff like that, and
Yeah,
was talking about doing her own event. And I was like, man, I guess that is part of the genetics of the family or something.
that's pretty cool.
But yeah, but it's a lot. It's a lot of undertaking a show of this size now. So it's a lot to be like, hey, I'm out. You take it over, because anybody would be like, holy crap. So it would be something that's going to happen over time. And honestly, my girlfriend Jamie has vowed to, she's been indoctrinated, and she's taken over a lot of the pre-show stuff, especially with the shirts. Deciding quantities and colors, and the artwork. I kind of generate the artwork initially, and then I have an artist finish it up. So there's a lot to go into it, and there's a lot of people behind the scenes, mostly my family. And I have a few guys that, like Bubba Corsi, who's been helping me since day one, who, I say, hey, what do you think about doing this? Or what do you think about adding this or subtracting this? But Nick and both Emma as well has slowly become more of a part of it. So,
So you brought them up. You've lived in virtually most of the generations of growth through
oh
the
yeah,
new culture. Is the scene healthier today, or is it more fragile than it
I,
was back
I
then?
think it is. I think it's healthier. I think there's more cars going to shows. It is easier to buy a car. They're more pricey, but if you want, let's say you want a 60 rack top, I know you bought a Beetle recently, or a 60 or a 55 convertible, whatever you want, you can find it. You know what I mean? You can go online, and maybe it might take you a few months, but
You
you'd be
can.
like, all right, that's kind of in my price range. I'm gonna contact this guy. Back in I would say the 80s, 90s, it was a lot harder to find the actual car. You had to like find it on next to someone's house or something like that.
Right. Gotcha.
So that part of the hobby, and seeing other builds online, like I follow a ton of guys online, and I watch all these builders, a lot of them out of the West Coast, but a lot in Florida as well, and Texas, building some awesome stuff. And I mean, I've been around a long time, but a lot of times I see stuff and I'm like, that's a great effing idea, or wow, I really like the style of that. You know what I mean? Or honestly, sometimes I see the build start and I think, man, that color is hideous. And then when I see the whole thing together, I'm like, that's badass.
Yeah,
you
dude's a
know?
visionary.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool. I'm a big YouTube dude too, so I'm always on YouTube and watching all kind of stuff and seeing things in Europe. Man, there's a lot of cool stuff that's happening in Europe. I'm trying to go out to the show, trying to go to Hessig and European Bug-In next year. I'm dying to see some of the stuff out there, and I have friends that live there that I made through the internet that have come to Florida and stayed at my house. We would have never done that without the internet. So I think the scene it's bigger but closer at the same time. I know guys out west I maybe met like two, three times, but we're friends on Facebook. And I'll tell you a really, really interesting story quickly. But I bought a 57 convertible with a buddy out of a junkyard back in, I want to say it was like 99 or maybe 2000. And this car, you could tell it was a custom car from like maybe the late 90s, maybe the early 90s or maybe the late 80s. It was like a lime green 57 convertible with white sides. So I figured it's like an early 90s build. And I'm like, man, this is a cool car. I wonder what the backstory is for this car. It's definitely a custom car and definitely, was around back in the day. And somebody found it in Hot VW's magazine back in like 92 or 91. They go,
Damn.
dude, I saw that car. And sure enough, it's at a show in California. And in front of the car is like a sign and it says Jay's 57 Vert. And it was the car because it had splatter paint headlights and all kind of very stuff that just that car had.
Splatter paint.
Many splatter paint, yeah. Many, many, many years later, I'm talking maybe just like 6 or 7 years ago, I was just on the internet on a Volkswagen site on Facebook, and a guy's like, "Man, I'm looking for my old car," and he puts a picture up, and it's that freaking car, and I'm like, "Bro, I bought your car out of a junkyard in like 1990 or 91." He was like, "What?" He's like, "How did my baby end up in a junkyard?" I'm like, "Dude." So I sent him my pics all through the 90s. I go, "Look, I got out of a junkyard. I put heater channels in it, and I did all this work, and then I
Wow,
painted it
man.
black, and I drove it. I drove it for like 10 years." And he's like, mind blown. We united because he posted a picture of it. I had been wondering about this car, where it came from for years. He ended up building it. We're friends today. Both of us are looking for the car because I sold it locally here. I think it's actually in my town, but just hidden away.
Yeah.
So if I
Crazy.
find it, I'm like, dude, I found your car. If it's for sale, I'm gonna say, hey man, here's your car, buy it.
I
But
love
wild. I mean, it's like the internet has brought people together, and it's solved mysteries and stuff like it's just interesting to me.
I love the community for that. And
Yeah,
the growth of the community because of the internet. It's a blessing and a curse.
yeah,
Maybe depending on your mindset or your stance on,
yeah,
type of attitude that you have. But
yeah. Hmm.
one trend today that you absolutely love, and then think about it because then I want to know about one trend that you are happy that you'll never see again, hopefully.
Okay, I got it, man. I got it.
Okay.
So the one trend I love is survivor cars, man. There's
Say
nothing like a good survivor car.
Survivor
You can
cars.
see
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
original.
Original car, somebody rolled out, patina on it. Original interior. A buddy of mine had a 53 Beetle Survivor car. He actually sold it because it was high pressure. He was like, I don't like leaving it out, in the rain or anything like that, like at shows, because it was patinaed and he could see where it would, under his tutelage, it was like aging more. And he's like, and he ended up selling the car because it was just too much for him. But you see, like I saw a couple of cars at Bug Jam, old, splits and stuff like that. Beautiful car. You're just a caretaker for maybe, 10 years or however long you keep the car. But just, they got a history to them, you know what I mean? And a lot of those cars were back in the 90s, they would take a beautiful car like that, kind of lightly worn, lightly loved car, and then just fully restore it. So all you saw was these pristine examples of these rare cars. And I like to see the cars that are tattered and torn and have a story. I like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So
And they
that
all
is one trend I'm glad has people are showing everything. You know what I mean? It's great.
how about one you don't care to see anymore?
The Mulholland look, man. You ever heard of the Mulholland look?
I
Not my
just
thing.
I want to say I just read about the Mulholland look. Is that the buggy?
No, it's a kit called the Mulholland look, and it puts square headlights on a Beetle,
That's what I saw that
and
the fiberglass fenders. I was just on somebody's
yeah,
website looking at the fiberglass fenders, and you scroll down
yeah,
pricing, and it's the Mulholland look fenders,
yeah, not my
square.
thing.
Yeah.
I love that Beetles have round headlights, and that was a trend. It really hit in the '80s, and it was around a little bit in the '90s. Not my thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember though. I knew it was something having to do with
Yeah, if
fiberglass.
we had a party and we burned all the Mulholland look fenders in the world, I would attend it.
So, what's your current lineup now? Cars owned.
I'm down to three, which is great.
Okay.
Although we have five here. I have a little small shop that we rent also, but I have a '59 convertible, convertible. My gosh, ragtop,
I love
called the
those
one
years.
seven.
58,
Yeah, the one.
59.
Yeah, call it a 171. It's a rally themed car.
Okay.
I just got it together, really finished maybe 6, 7 weeks ago. Um, we're loving the car so far. Drives great. It's kind of everything I wanted it to be, and it's proving to be fairly reliable. Knock on wood. Um, I have my '67 bus that I've had for 23 years. I've had that bus forever. Like I was telling you earlier, we've been all over the country. Not, I wouldn't say all over the country, but we had it in Arizona last year,
Wow.
camping and stuff like that. So it's I restored it really twice. In 2003, when I bought it, I did a almost over a year. I did new engine, new drivetrain, transmission, brakes, all that stuff. And in 2000 and what year would have been? Anyways, maybe like 12 years ago, I converted to four-wheel disc brakes. I put a whole new set of wheels on it. Ended up painting the bus, new interior, new camper interior, copy the original camper interior. Um, so that one will never go because it's part of the family,
Mhm.
really, because my kids grew up in it and that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
I just bought a '59 Gia, so I bought a '59 low
Cool.
light,
Low light.
really nice car. It's like a three-owner car, about that. Maybe I'm the fourth owner.
Ah,
Um,
sweet.
really, really cool car that I'm starting to build now. And then that'll be it for a while. But my son has a '67 that we're building, and then he's got an air ride van again.
Aero
That's pretty cool.
Vanagon.
Son,
Cool. The
air ride.
67
Yep.
is it a Beetle or a Gia?
It's
Sorry.
a Beetle.
It's a
It's a Beetle.
67 Beetle. Yeah. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
and it's going to be slammed and narrow beam and tranny rays and all kind of stuff, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love lowrider culture was how I grew up here.
Yeah.
80s, 90s guy, I
Yeah.
love them slammed and tucked, brother.
Yep.
That's my style for sure. On the Carmen
Yep.
Gia front, when I started getting back into
Yeah.
Volkswagens,
You have one, I thought, right?
I do. Yeah. So
Yeah.
my wife said, the only one I like is this one. And I'm like, "Oh, you like Carmen Gias?" She's like, "Is that what this one is?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Yeah, I like them." I'm like, "Okay." She's like, "But I'm
Yeah.
the stick shift." I'm like,
Yeah.
"What?" Like, okay. So I started doing a little bit of research and I see that in the early 70s, they had the auto clutch still.
Auto stick.
I had one in
Yep.
high school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, well, I bet you I can find one. So just like you said a minute ago, all you got
Yep.
to do is just type in what you're looking for in the damn search.
Yep.
Here it goes. It pops up. We found a one owner, female owned,
Yeah.
barn survivor,
Yep.
71 auto clutch with 46,000 miles on it.
Wow.
Original.
Yeah. That's nice. What year
Runs
is
like a
it?
damn top. It's a 71.
Oh, perfect car. Yeah.
A perfect car, man. It runs
Yep.
very, very good. It did have some rust that we didn't see at first, but I had it all fixed last year. Actually, that was this
Yeah.
year. I had it all fixed this year. We're gonna wrap it, and I got some 17-inch Porsche twists for it. I'm gonna lower it,
Yep.
put the Porsche wheels on it, and we're gonna
Yep.
make it. We're gonna color it. Um, her brand colors for our real estate
Yeah.
brokerage. Yeah,
Sure.
we're gonna do all that and have fun with it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I love survivors too.
Yeah.
The stories, like you said, man, the stories that come with them. We got the original, um, what is it? The original invoice slash bill of sale for when the car was purchased from a
Oh,
Volkswagen
wow.
dealership. I've got that
That's cool.
safe.
That's cool.
Yep.
You know, it's funny because I had Gias years ago, but I always sold them for some reason. I'd buy like do some horse trading, end up with a Gia, and then sell it. And I never really drove them much. And then I was always in the back of my mind, I want to get a low light Gia. I want to get a low light Gia. It's the one Volkswagen I really don't have any experience owning and driving and that kind of stuff. And my buddy sent me a 71 convertible Gia auto stick mint, same thing, like 40,000 miles.
Oh,
And he's like, hey man, it came up from Miami. He's like, I want to give this to my sister. Can you go through it? Just make sure it's 100%. So I did a bunch, it needed a bunch of vacuum lines and fuel lines and just maintenance stuff.
mhm.
Got it running. He's like, drive it for like 2 or 3 weeks, make sure it's bulletproof, and I'll come pick it up. So he forced me to drive this car for 2 weeks, and I was like, I
I'm
looked at my
getting a
son one
Gia.
day. We took it to get Mexican food. And I was like, bro, I need a Gia.
I love it.
And
I
ever
love
since
it
that
too.
day, I'm like, you know what? I'm on the hunt. So I bought a low light, but it needed everything, and I was prepared to do all the metal work on it. And then Alan Bristow, I'm sure you know him over there, but Alan had a low light he put for sale that was a lot nicer. So I sold my car and bought his car. So
Nice.
I'm
Good
having a
stuff.
great time building it, man. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I love those early Gias for sure. The dash a little
Yeah,
bit different without that
a
pad.
little bit different. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely like them. All
Yeah.
right, let's talk about the lifestyle for a second. You've been
Yeah.
a long time. What's the VW lifestyle taught you in your life about patience?
I am a very patient person, naturally, and I've had projects that span years. When I tell you years, I mean years, 7, 8 years. Because I'll start a car and then build another car for somebody else. I used to build a lot of stuff for other people, so it's just taking your time, finding the right parts. I enjoy the treasure hunt that goes along with building a car. So I'll go to Bug Jam and spend 2 days in a swap and find 20 items that I really need and maybe go look at some show cars. But it's taught me that spending time on a project is a good way to clear your mind. I went through a divorce probably 11, 12 years ago now. And during that time, I started working on cars heavily, A, because I needed the money. And then B, because I needed a place to maybe, think things out and that kind of stuff. So for me, it's a bit of therapy. Take your time,
Yeah.
enjoy the car, enjoy music is a big part of my life. So, if the thing that has kept me sane in my life is Volkswagens, music, and my garage, you
All
know.
right. So then what has the lifestyle taught you about people?
That people are good.
They're
Of course
still
there's
good
bad
out
out there.
there.
There is still good out there. And you know what? Of course there's bad people everywhere, every culture, every hobby.
Sure.
But I've made a lot of great friends over the years, and I mean people that I invited, to birthday parties and weddings, and when my kids were born and stuff like that. And I have friends that I made back in the '80s that I'm still very tight with, and if I needed them, I know that they would do something for me. And likewise for them, and I have had friends that we have a tremendous bond and we met through cars, you know what I mean? And even today, I've met a lot of friends just in the last year with Volkswagens and stuff like that. And we build bonds and it's great. The extended family that I have is tremendous because of it. And I've seen a lot of good, man. I've seen people get sick and I've seen people raise money for them. I've seen friends die. I've seen hundreds of Volkswagen people at funerals.
Wow.
The support out there is incredible. And man, I love Volkswagen people. We're the best. I always tell people Volkswagen people are the underdog of the car community. So we accept everyone. You know what I mean? You're one of us, dude. Join the club. And that's how it is, man. We're good people. I've been into other car types, hot rods and stuff like that. The people are not the same. So
Me
the
too.
people
And they're
are
not.
really almost more important than the cars, in my view.
Awesome. Yeah. Happy to hear you say that. What do you think's one of the biggest mistakes though that, the newer people coming into the scene, the Volkswagen scene, what do you think are some of the biggest mistakes that they make entering the scene, that you could maybe, talk about to maybe they don't make those mistakes?
Well, two things. Two things. I've seen a lot of people, a lot of younger kids. When I say kids, I'm talking like 20-year-olds.
Still a kid.
Get in, get in. I'm the hottest shit since whatever, and then burn out fast. You know what I mean? Like, you see them, and then they make noise, and they're on the internet, and they're saying all kind of crap, and then they're gone 2 years later. You know what I mean? So just slow down. You know what I mean? Enjoy yourself. And then the other point I would make that new people, I think, do when they get into hobbies, they don't know what to stay away from as far as when building a car, they buy a lot of cheaper parts. There's an easy, just because things are cheap on the internet and stuff like that doesn't mean they're quality. So I see a lot of people that get in the hobby and they're like, my car doesn't run for crap. And when you look at it, they bought like cheap Brazilian parts or where Chinese parts or whatever.
Right.
I think that people don't know that, hey, don't buy that because it's not a good quality part. So I think people over time realize, all right, I'm going to spend the money, get something quality instead of buying something cheap. You know what I mean? So I think that the hard lesson for a lot of people when they first get in is they think that you can just order anything, and when it gets nothing works, and they're very frustrated by that kind of stuff. You know?
Somebody listening to this that might be inspired to get into maybe even starting
Yeah.
their own first build. What
Yeah.
what is your advice on a starting point for them?
My advice on a starting point is always going to be the same. Spend the money and buy something with a good body. Because if you buy something that's rusty and you think you can fix it, you probably can fix it, but it's going to be more expensive and you're going to spend more time getting it not rusty than if you maybe paid $1,000 more and just bought a solid body from the beginning.
Damn, that's
If
that's
you're a
that's awesome
beginner,
advice.
who cares if it runs? Getting it run is the easy part. Repairing the rust is going to be the hard part, and maybe the part that might be a little bit more daunting for you.
Mm.
So I always say, if you're going to start out first time project, get something with a good body.
All right, so that's for a builder. What about for a promoter? Somebody that listens to this podcast that says, you know what, I want to do my own event too. What will be a starting point, or maybe even some of the truths behind being an event
Yeah.
promoter that you could forecast to the community?
Well, it's a good question. What I would do is honestly start small. So it's easy to burn yourself out if you take on too much too fast. Um,
Good advice.
I know through shows, organic growth is the best way to go. It's a better experience for people. They're not frustrated. Like I've been to car shows that the registration line took 2 hours. You know what I mean? And people are just pissed off when they got there because it's a new promoter. He had like his sister and maybe his brother doing the registration, and they've never done it before. And then suddenly
Right.
you've got 100 people at a gate, and they're all pissed off. So I always say, hey man, start off slow, start off small, and then grow organically. And I mean that's what I've done with my events because I'm partially lazy, and two, I just want to do it right, and I would say just don't bite off more than you could chew. That's probably my biggest takeaway. And have fun doing it. If you're not having fun promoting a show, if you don't take time out to enjoy the little bit of success that you're having, then you're doing it wrong. You got to be able to sit back. Wow, this is a badass event, like you were talking about you and Alan doing.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
got to be able to enjoy that success, or else what are you doing it for? You're going to burn yourself out.
Yeah.
So
No,
you have to learn it. And even my show's a pretty big event. I'm stressed for part of it, just getting it going and making sure everything is in the right places. But after that, I'm having fun. The limbo contest that we do, I'm joking around. We're cracking jokes. It's stress free. It's a lot of fun. I take a lot of enjoyment out of seeing other people happy at the event. So when you see, I mean, you know this, you've seen people at your events and they're having a good time. Maybe they got grandma and grandpa out they haven't been out in a while and they got them in the car and they're doing their thing and that kind of stuff. That makes me happy. It's a
yeah.
family having a good time, you know.
So that look, I got goosebumps because I'm thinking about this story. So
Yeah,
for
good.
the 25th year when we did the Skyway ride, when we brought it back, Alan and I, it created such a buzz online. 440
Mhm.
cars. Somebody had come down to Citrus
Yeah,
Place to get in line, and
yeah,
she didn't have a Volkswagen, and she said, "Is there
yeah.
a way that I can just jump in and ride with
Oh, wow,
somebody
that's
else?"
awesome. Yeah,
And we didn't even think, we're like, oh, absolutely. She's like, are you really,
yeah.
you're serious? You're willing to do that for
Oh,
me?
yeah,
And, somebody was right there, was like, yeah, you can jump in with me.
yeah.
It's just me.
Hell
'Cause
yeah,
turns out she
yeah.
had terminal cancer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And she, it made her whole life, it felt
Sure.
like and she rode in a thing with the windshield down and
Oh, wow. Yeah.
yeah, bro. I mean, it was everything. So I totally,
Well,
I totally vibe with that.
what may not be a big deal to us is a big deal to some people. And there's
Right.
people at Nodo, there, especially during like COVID and that kind of stuff. A lot of people, I mean, we had to put the show on hiatus for about a year, but there were a lot of people that told me at that time, that is our vacation. That is our family
Right. Right.
vacation.
That's
We
so
go
cool, man.
every year. We caravan in Nodo. We camp out, me and the kids, my extended family, whatever. And those kind of stories, I love them because that's what it was intended to be for.
Yeah.
And that's where I get my energy from. I've seen a bunch of Volkswagens. 90% of the cars that are there I've already seen. So I mean, we do like having new builds, and I do love that kind of stuff. But I'm more about the little kids riding around on a bicycle and grandpa chasing them around and that kind of stuff, because that's really what it's about when you look at it.
That was literally my next question was going to say,
Yeah.
how do you, after all these decades, keep your enthusiasm alive? But you
Yeah.
don't have to answer it because you just did.
I'm going to tell you a story though, real quick. We had a gentleman that came to the show, and he was also terminal cancer. Was in World War II. He was like 90 years old. This is several years ago. Bought a Beetle in Europe years later in 1960, exported it to the US, was at my show with pictures of him in uniform driving the bug in Germany.
Whoa.
And his last thing that he told his family, I want to take my car to a Volkswagen show, came to the show, won an award. I was so thrilled that we could do that for him. And
Yes,
he
man.
died the following. His family sent me a letter. I don't I don't want to get emotional, but it was a big deal.
Oh, man.
I was like so shocked by it.
Yeah, I bet. I feel that
Yeah,
because honestly, as a promoter too, or should I say also,
yeah,
this is actually the moments that we strive for, look for,
yeah. It's a big
hope
deal.
hope will happen, by
Yeah,
putting this effort, using our connections, doing all the stuff
yeah,
that, not everybody can just throw together events.
yeah.
It takes a certain somebody, a certain personality, a certain type of
Sure.
pusher, right, to make
Yeah,
all these things happen. But those are the moments that we live for. And I to
yeah,
see how it impacts you, and that
yeah,
you get emotional over it, it means so much more to me and even probably to the community because
yeah.
that's what you want, bro, is somebody that gives a fuck that much running this thing,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So man, I value that. Thank you
We
for having
made
such
we
a big
made his
heart.
last it maybe his last year have a big highlight, for him, and I
Oh,
felt good about that.
me too. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that for
I
everybody.
didn't think I was going to cry on a podcast. Thanks, Joe.
Hey, Thank you for caring that much, bro. Thank you for caring
Yeah,
that much.
yeah.
What's next for you? Any new shows? Any new builds? Any it just
Uh, we're working on that gear that we have. And honestly, I built my 59 ragtop to really enjoy. It's not a show car. It's a nice car, but it's not built as a show car. It's built to drive and run. I'm going to Sick Week. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's a big drag race event, and we're going to do 5 days of being part of that event with the car. We're not actually going to drag it. We're going to do the endurance part of it. So it's
okay?
about over 1,000 miles. So I'm really looking forward to that. But
Badass.
show wise, I'm not gonna do anything new. In Noda, I always tweak it a little bit. I always take things out and I add new things. So kind of more of the same. I'm looking at. I got a few ideas of things I want to add to the show to make it, new for some people. I got some new games that we're gonna maybe launch here either this year, maybe next year, and just kind of build on that success. And I'm trying to put all I can into the show, but then also take time, as I get older and stuff like that, to enjoy my cars, maybe some big road trips and stuff like that, in the Gia or my Beetle, and just have some fun with those cars, just enjoy it a little bit.
Didn't you partner? I thought I saw maybe a partnership up with Pensacola with Derek Henry with Bugs on the Bayou. Aren't you doing something with
Yep.
him for?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Derek is gonna do he's gonna do a Vanagon show this
Yes,
year
that's what it is. He's
at
got the
Evo.
Vanagon. He was
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
podcast
So
too.
it's
What a
Epic Pizza
fantastic dude.
on Saturday. He's taking on doing a Vanagon show, and that's going to be huge because the Vanagon scene is really taking off. I mean, we have one ourselves, but I mean, they're super cool, so it's going to be a lot of fun, man. He's a great addition. I like his energy.
Me too.
I think he's
Love
a
that dude.
great guy.
He is. He is.
We've only had a few in-person interactions and stuff like that, but I follow him online. I need to get to a show. I have no excuse not to be there next year.
I don't
But
either. I got to make it too.
that's one of our road trips that we're planning. We have family in Apalachicola, so we're gonna go see them and then head on up to his show. But people with that kind of energy we'll partner up with for the event anytime, man. If you and Alan ever want to do something for the show, just let us know if you want to be a part of it. We're always looking to make that weekend a big deal. The way we look at it is like we're kind of the I look at like Bug Jam's kind of the beginning, and then you have all these shows. Of course, you have Christmas, which there's not much around that, but then you have January Volkswagen shows. I picture us like the end almost of the season. We're not really the end, but the last big show
You
of the
know,
season because then we
you,
get into summer.
you know, it would be cool.
Hmm.
West Coast no dough.
That would be cool. That
A
would be
cool,
cool.
yeah. Me and Alan can get involved and help. If that ever becomes an idea or a thought, let us know.
Yeah,
We'd
yeah,
love to
yeah,
put our salty dub flair on it. And
yeah.
yeah, man, that'd be awesome. So um I don't know. I got some rapid fire questions. We can jump
Hey
in.
man, let's do it.
Yeah,
I'm an opinionated person with Volkswagen, so
these can be
I told my girlfriend, I go, he's gonna ask my opinion on things. She's like, you'll be perfect.
now these can evolve into a story, or they don't necessarily
Yeah,
have to. Don't feel like you
yeah,
have to tell a story each one, but if they do,
sure,
hey man, I'm all here for it. You ready for it?
sure. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, favorite VW model of all time.
Early convertibles, man. 50, any split window convertible, Beetle or oval. I've had a few of them. I love them. They're high maintenance cars though, but I love them.
Looking at buses, split
Yeah,
or bay.
split all the way, man. I
Okay,
love my split. Not as convenient as a bay, but they damn sure look cool.
they damn sure do. They damn sure do. All right, what about paint?
Yeah.
Patina or glossy, paint?
I'm in the middle. I'm gonna say I like
Oh,
patina. I like glossy paint. Personally, me, I prefer a car that's got a few scratches and dents in it. They're more enjoyable. But I'm more of a paint guy than strictly patina guy.
lots of VW air-cooled engines, all the way down, obviously, to sizes. What's your favorite engine combo?
1776 because of reliability. It's got power, but it's not too much. It's kind of in Florida. I feel like it's that happy medium. Yeah, 1776 for me because I mean, it gets hot in Florida, and when you go out west, these guys have I got a 2332 and I got a 2275.
Yeah.
Yeah, in summertime it's like 75 degrees. In Florida it's 95 degrees. So I think a 1776 is even an 1835, but I think a 1776 is more bulletproof personally.
Okay.
It's a good combo.
Yeah, no, fair. Very popular choice too,
Yeah,
especially, around here. And I think for what you're
yeah,
saying, probably the reason. All right.
yeah.
How about this one? Favorite show that you've ever attended, but not one that you created?
Buses by the bridge out in Arizona.
I am like
Great.
so attracted to that show and I want to make it there. There's a couple guys here from the, local scene that
Yeah.
that fancy that go out there and I think it's the coolest thing ever. I would love
I've
to
seen
do it.
Dan and Shane out there a few years.
Yeah.
It, you know what it is, man? It's very laid back. I'm drawn to like those situations, just a laid back event. But that show, it's 3 days. I'm friendly with Ronnie that puts it on. Super nice guy. He's now passed it on to other people. But it's 3 day. It's a 3 day camp out. Base. I think it's like 4 or 5 days actually. I went for 3 days. But we had our bus out there, and it's just where we were actually on like a peninsula in a lake making breakfast and the sun rising. It just was so great that the air is like crisp. You're in the desert with your
Yeah.
bus.
It's
The
dry.
vibe is great, man. Everyone was super laid back. They actually
Isn't there
had
a shitload of buses too?
like 500 buses.
Come on,
Um,
bro. I gotta see that one day.
yeah, and then like events during the days. They had like a BMX show, and then they have like the lantern walk at night, and then the sunsets are just awesome. It's
Yes,
just
I
the
saw that lantern
ambiance
walk.
of the place. It's great, man.
Yeah,
I've
I
been
want
to
to
a
get
lot
there.
of shows. That's the top. I do love shows with good swap meets though. So it does have a swap meet, but for swap meet, I honestly want to say Bug Jam for swap, or what used to be the Classic Weekend in California. But ambiance total show that I would go to tomorrow, Buses by the Bridge.
Who runs that show?
Um, the London Bridge Bullies, I believe, are the people that run it now. It's a big group of guys that run it, and it's a well-run machine. I will tell you that. It's a lot of fun.
Well, it looks it. It sure looks it.
Yeah,
I hope I strive one day to be able to put together something that looks that awesome and that
yeah,
well placed and
yeah,
that well put together. All right, a
yeah.
good answer for sure. One tool that you can't live without.
My I have a Krebsfer Volkswagen engine building stand that's from a dealership from the 50s that a friend of mine bought like at a yard sale and
Wow.
then eventually gave to me. I love that thing. I got a motor sitting on it right now that I'm building for my Gia. I use it maybe, this year, like twice this year, but I might use it every 2 or 3 years. And also I rebuild it transmissions on it too, put axles in and that kind of stuff. So it's the most unique tool that I have. That's Volkswagen, and it's the one that I'm like, wow, I'm so glad to have this because you can turn anything sideways and do whatever you got to do, and it's
Ah,
own freestanding thing with its own tool tray and everything. I love it.
I've got a
I love
1600. I
it.
found a 1600 last year on Marketplace.
Hmm.
Ended up getting it for like $600. It's all chromed
Yeah,
out.
cheap.
It's
Yeah,
cheap. It was supposed to be on the back of a trike,
yeah,
and the guy had sent it off and had it rebuilt, had all this paperwork and stuff for it.
yeah.
He was supposed to put it on his trike like 2, 3, 4 weeks later, and he passed away.
Yeah.
So the family gave it to his best friend and said, "Hey, we don't know what to do with this
Find a home. Yeah,
lawnmower engine or whatever." It was all chromed out,
yeah,
with the exhaust comes up out of the side. Anyway,
yeah.
my point was, it's sitting in my garage on a uh, engine stand. Well, not an engine stand, a motorcycle stand that my kids used for their dirt bike that they sold.
Oh yeah.
So
I know
I've
you're
got
talking.
that
Yeah,
stand. I got that stand sitting there,
yeah.
and the engine's just sitting there. I'm literally just waiting for the opportunity to put that thing in the back of the '62 Beetle. I was
Oh
fortunate
yeah.
enough to get. Yeah, man. I'm just kind of patiently waiting. Like you said, some of these projects, they take a long time, and you have to be willing to be okay with that.
Yeah,
There are times I look out in the driveway and I'm like, I want this done like yesterday. Like I want to just do everything, and I want it to be done and complete and fast. And
right.
I've even not been able to bring my cars to a couple of the shows that have just recently, passed,
Yeah,
to include Bug Jam and
yeah,
or Beach Bash that we just hosted for the first year this
sure.
year, because they're kind of a work in progress. Now, my
Yeah,
wife's Gia, we had all the rust fixed, so there's,
yeah,
it's almost like primered bottom, nice paint up top. It's
yeah.
all the all the
The
chrome,
rockers are, yeah,
everything's
yeah,
taken off, all the
yeah,
badging and everything's taken off because we were going to have it wrapped.
yeah,
Well, and other shit happened. My kid broke a tooth, needed a root canal, and just how it is, man. Just all this stuff
yeah.
started happening.
Life. Yeah,
Life, right? And now
yeah,
that's kind of on the back burner a little bit. Well,
yeah,
up through last month, I was like, all right, well, let's get it wrapped. She's like, you ain't spending no money before we get through Christmas. I'm like, okay, honey. So
January. Yeah,
yeah, so now it's gonna sit, till probably through January. But
yeah,
I've got the stuff in place, and I'm happy to I guess kind of exist in that
yeah. You
feeling
know
of
what though?
I
To
don't mind.
me, that delay, that anticipation of the car being built makes it that much sweeter to you when you drive it.
I
You know, my
totally agree.
my Beetle has been backburnered. I rebuilt a Westfalia trailer. I rebuilt a Speedster for somebody. Countless projects have been here that aren't mine, buses and all kind of crap. And my bug was always backburner. When I finally finished it that first drive, you couldn't get a bigger smile, man. It was ear to ear, and it's been that way since I drive the car because I know how long I worked on it,
Yeah.
and I wasn't willing to sacrifice like, oh, I can just put a smaller motor. No, I'm going to build the motor I always wanted, and that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to put this whatever part in it because I wanted this forever. You know what I mean? So I
Yes.
deserve it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's taken longer, but now I'm happy that it's done. I'm like, wow, this was a long road, but the success of it, having it running, feels so good.
I'm okay with it taking a little bit longer.
Yeah,
I really am, and I've kind of told I've had to talk myself into that the last kind of
yeah,
year ish,
yeah,
because where I am a very kind of, if you follow any personality types, I'm like a driver style, very fast
sure,
paced, fast decision
yeah,
maker type dude.
urban, yeah,
I'm ready just to get shit behind me and check it off the
yeah,
list and just get it done. So it's been a little bit of soul searching at the same time, but I really
sure,
like what you're saying because I feel that same way. The
yeah,
longer and the more the anticipation is, like
yeah,
I waited months. Well, I waited 6 weeks, 7 weeks to order just the trim pieces.
yeah,
Right? And when they came in, I was like a kid in a candy store, man. I went and
yeah.
sat like
I
my
want to get them
kids.
on.
Yeah, kids holding the
Yeah,
flashlight and in the
yeah,
driveway, and I'm doing it at night. My wife's like, "Why don't you just wait till the morning?" I'm
I
like,
can't.
"Because," right? So
I
yeah,
know.
man, I feel that. All right,
Listen, I sat in my car with no motor in it, hand on the wheel, like, all right, all right, I like this. The car was still 6 months from being together, and I'm like,
yeah,
damn it, one day, close the door, go in the house.
yep, that's where I'm at with them. All good though. All right, how about this
Yeah.
one? One VW hill that you would die on.
Oh man, this is an easy one for me. Fuke wheels are the best wheels ever. So the original Porsche Fuke wheel,
Yep.
and I'm gonna double down and say that you could put Fuke wheels on a turd and it would still look good.
So I'm gonna have to agree with you there, but I have a favorite wheel myself, and
Yeah.
it's the Empy original 1960s Sprint Star.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Now my yellow 58 that I had that
I
I
have.
sold
Yep.
at oh,
Yep.
pissed that I sold that one, but that one had those original
Yeah.
stamped Western Germany,
Yep.
the real badass ones. They were chrome.
Limerence is the brand that made them, and
Lemurs,
then
yeah,
Empty sold
yes,
them. Yeah,
yes.
Limers. Yeah.
Oh, I sold them with the car, and
Yeah.
I've tried to find them again, and you can't find them. I can't find them
Well,
chrome.
you can. You just gotta pay. Oh,
You
you want
gotta,
Chrome ones?
yeah, I
You
want
want Chrome
chrome
ones?
ones.
I'm
Chrome are
gonna. You know
sick.
what is cool? BBT, in Germany or Belgium rather, I think they are. makes a great repop of that wheel, and it looks 100%. Other than saying Limmers on it, it
Yeah,
is
yeah. In
identical
chrome too?
in chrome. Yeah, and the
Oh,
chrome is good.
is that BB
I don't
BBT wheels?
BBT. Yeah, look at BBT Sprint Stars online.
Okay.
I don't know if they still produce them, but there's a lot out there.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's awesome, bro. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
How about this one?
yeah.
What's one you may have already answered this, but what's
Mm.
one VW that you regret selling?
Um, yeah. I sold a lot of cars over the years, and I regret a few of them. I would say I had a 55 Vert a few years ago, and I sold it. It was always kind of a problem child car. It broke down basically almost every time I drove it. So I was like, this car's haunted, whatever. I kind of needed the money. Somebody made me a stupid offer on the car, like 10,000 more than I paid for it like 6 months prior. So I was like, you know what? I could use the money. The car's kind of like not my buddy. So I sold it, and then now I'm like, man, what is that car worth today? And I would love to have one. They are high maintenance, they leak. They require a lot of maintenance or with the top and all that kind of stuff. But I just love them, man. They are I think a beautiful car. So 50, anywhere from 51 to 57 is my favorite year convertible one. That's my favorite car.
Okay. I had a 58, like I said, that I regret selling, but in the same situation as you just described.
Yeah.
I got offered too much money for it. And
Yeah.
here was the thing. I said to myself, you know what? I really don't want to sell it, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna put it up there for on marketplace for like 16.5,
Yeah.
and if it
Yeah.
sells, it sells, and bro,
Yeah.
kidding you, it wasn't even a day.
Yeah.
And this guy messaged me and he's like, dude, that's my dream car. I've been looking for that car for 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, please tell me those are the German issued wheels. I said, they are. He's like, bro, I'll give you an extra $300 if you hold it till tomorrow. So
Yeah.
he came up from South Florida and paid 16.8
Oh wow.
for that car that I saw just a year later. He was trying to sell it
Yeah.
for 13 and couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So same thing. I had to. I was like, I really don't want to, but good Lord, this dude's willing to pay me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then
I let it
five,
go.
6 years later, you're looking for the same damn car.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me.
Yeah,
You know.
no. I already have, and I'm already looking for it again, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
All
Your
right, how
car looks
about
sweet though. Your Beetle looks sweet, man. I really like that car. It looks nice.
the 62?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is
no,
that mouse gray or anthracite? What color is that?
yeah, it's that the second name. I don't know how to
Yeah.
say it. Anthracite,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Anthracite. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
that. And
It's a
dude,
nice car.
I traded my thing. I had a
Yeah.
64 thing. I traded straight up for it. And
Yeah.
my thing was running and I'd put a lot of money into it and everything, but I actually had a
Mhm.
bad experience on the interstate with my wife in
Really?
the thing. Yeah. And she's like, I won't ride in it again. I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, okay. All right, I got another one for you. Maybe just a
Yeah.
couple more.
Yeah.
In your opinion, who would be maybe one of the most underrated builders right now in the scene?
So you know what? It's crazy. One of the guys, I was telling you earlier about, in the 80s when I first showed up to that club, and that's when I got kind of bit by the bug and kind of realized what the scene was. Caesar Costa. He's actually the guy who owns that thing behind you.
Oh, okay.
Um, he's a guy from that's been around forever. He has the most amazing fleet of cars. He's got a thing. He's got an oval ragtop. He's got a notchback. He's got you name it. He's got it. He even builds modern new Beetles. He just built like a 2020 convertible on air ride. Crazy
Oh,
stuff.
sick.
He's been in it since day one. He's built through all the styles over the years. Like we're talking 80s cars, 90s cars, 2000s. He's still actively doing it. He builds crazy stuff like that thing. He even does non-Volkswagen things. He's in Miami. He's been doing it forever, and he does top-notch builds. He has a double cab that's tubbed in the back.
Ooh,
Super cool.
ooh,
Really nice bay window double cab, beautiful. So
yeah.
yeah, he's a guy that knows what he's doing, does all his own work. I really respect that. Paints
Mhm.
builds motors, does it all. He'd be the guy I say is the most underrated guy that I know.
Okay. Cool, man.
Doesn't toot his own horn all the time, but
Yeah.
builds a badass ride.
Badass.
Yeah.
The VW life,
hmm
in general, is this a life that chooses you, or do you choose it?
I'm gonna say it's a life that chooses you because it reels you in.
Okay.
Um, you either have you either have one of two experiences. One, you buy a Volkswagen, it never runs right, or you always have problems and you get frustrated and you sell it. Or you buy one, it eventually runs like shit, and then you have to work on it. But you have a few good experiences that hook you with people, maybe a cruise, a drive somewhere, maybe
Hmm.
you go to a show and you have an amazing time. If you have that one or two good Volkswagen experiences, you'll be hooked. It's really that initial first year when you buy a car and what you do with it and how you enjoy it. If you have a few good experiences, you're in it, then you're like, next thing you know, you're going to Volkswagen shows and you're buying that second Volkswagen and that third one and fourth one and fifth.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it chooses you.
Okay. Any shout outs or yeah, anybody you want to say what's up to or shout anybody else out?
Just my friends, man, my original buddies, that we still hang out with, Pat, Jason, Al, Tony, there's a lot of guys that we hang out with. Of course, my friends back in Miami, Caesar, Alex, Ramsey, all those guys that I've known since like the 1980s, Jerry. There's tons of guys that, are still in it, still build cars, still are excited about it.
Mm.
We're all gray haired now. We all have a gray beard, but we're still 20-year-olds at heart, you
Yeah.
know.
I just
They
had a
know who they
conversation
are.
with somebody.
Yeah.
I was just saying that last night. I'm still 18 at heart. Still 18 at heart.
And that's a wrap for this episode of DubLife Diaries. Thanks for riding along with us and diving into these incredible stories of the people in the dubs that drive their dreams. If you love today's episode, don't forget to subscribe or hit that follow button so you never miss an adventure. Do you have a story to tell or know somebody else who's living the dub life? Awesome! Reach out to us. You can find us on all socials at DubLife Diaries or shoot me an email. I'm not hard to find. DubLifeDiaries@gmail.com. Until next time, keep the engines humming and the wheels turning, and always follow the road that inspires you. This is Joe Person. I'm signing off. I'll catch you on the next ride.